Welcome back to the channel. This video is on hydrology and looking at the interaction between groundwater and surface water and looking at how a river can either lose water or gain water. This is the Earth Science Classroom. Hydrology is a beautiful and dynamic subject looking at the flow of water on the Earth's surface in regards to both rivers and streams and drainage basins, catchment areas and watersheds, and how the surface water is going to interact with the subsurface or groundwater is a beautiful relationship and symbiosis of the flow of water under the influence of gravity and how water finds its way through different mediums, both with porosity and permeability in both the surface and subsurface environments. The interaction, how water moves between the water and the groundwater, is the focus of this video, looking at both gaining streams and losing streams and what these are and how they work together to create the flow of water on the Earth's surface. Groundwater is any water that is under the surface of the Earth, within the crust, within the bedrock. This is controlled or added to by water from the atmosphere. So when it rains, which is called meteoric water or the source, infiltrates, percolates and moves through the rock layers, through the soil called interflow, and eventually into the ground rock layers and accumulates, which is called groundwater. Now if it accumulates and becomes saturated, we call that an aquifer. Aquifers can be either unconfined, which means only one layer of impervious surface, or it can be confined, where it's sandwiched between two impervious surfaces or layers, so it's under more pressure. But the recharge zone is where the water is added into the groundwater. And the area where groundwater is partially filling the spaces or voids or cavities is called the unsaturated zone or vadose zone, which means it's closer to the surface with access for vegetation to acquire the water. But there's water in this zone, but it's not completely saturated and it's above the water table. The water table is the point or the highest point of the saturated zone within the ground, and the discharge zone is where the water is going to flow out of groundwater, either into a spring on the surface or out into a body of water like a lake or a large river or an ocean. Groundwater is going to interact with surface water, which means a river or a stream network, which includes the drainage basin, the catchment area, the watershed. It also includes any kind of overland flow or surface runoff. And this again comes from the atmospheric origin, so it's meteoric in source. And there will be an exchange of water in two different ways between the river and the groundwater. And these two ways are a losing stream or a gaining stream. A losing stream is our first type of interaction between the surface river and the groundwater, the aquifer. And this is going to involve both the unsaturated zone and the vadose zone, and also the saturated zone, the aquifer. Now the groundwater is located far down deeper than the actual river channel. So there's a gap between the riverbed and the water table, as shown in the diagram. This is a type of recharge zone for groundwater, in addition to any meteoric water that will get through infiltration and percolation. The river is going to provide water for the groundwater, and the river's discharge and volume will decrease as it flows downstream and also flows into the groundwater. This is also dependent on the geology of the rock in which the river and groundwater are flowing through. If it is impervious, there will be no recharge, there will be no interaction between the river and the groundwater. There will be an aquiclude or an aquitard present, which makes the groundwater, in sense, a confined aquifer. However, the arrows denote that there is a flow of water, an interchange of that water from the river to the groundwater, indicating that this vadose zone, this unsaturated zone, is present in rock which has a certain amount of porosity and permeability. So the bedrock, the geology, the precipitation, the gradient, the land use, vegetation amount is going to dictate the exchange of water between the river and the groundwater. The next and opposite interaction between the surface water and the groundwater is called a gaining stream. This is where the stream's channel or riverbed is situated or located at a deeper depth than the water table. The water table is high and towards the surface and is higher than the river channel and riverbed. So that means that the water from the aquifer, the unconfined aquifer, is able to flow from the groundwater into the river to give the river more water. So it increases the discharge and volume of water in the river and create a more consistent base flow in terms of how much water is in the river and flowing downstream. Again, this is based on the height of the water table, the geology of the rock, the permeability of the rock, the flow of the river, and also the climate, the gradient, vegetation. And this can also create wetlands and bogs and marshlands based on the environment. So this river could be enlarged and spread out and very, very shallow and create this marsh and bog environment with a very high water table. And this would create a discharge zone where the water from the groundwater, the aquifer, is flowing into the river as a source of water for the river. This is the Earth Science Classroom. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, please subscribe, like, and share. And if you want more content and videos on Earth Science, please check out my channel.